Welcome back in, everybody. Big 12 football is finally upon us, which means it's time to kick off Big 12 Big Football. I'm your host, Aaron Pryor. Each and every week, we'll be looking at the biggest matchups of the weekends, players that you've got to keep your eye on, as well as storylines entering each weekend. And that includes the fact that the Big 12 has got 4 new head coaches in the league, and that's exactly where we're going to start. This week, we'll feature 2 coaches this week and 2 new head coaches next week. And we start on the Monongahela River, where Neal Brown is set to make his Mountaineer debut on Saturday as West Virginia hosts perennial FCS power James Madison. As you know, Brown came to the Mountain State after a successful tenure at Troy University. When a new coach comes in, naturally there will be changes or adjustments to the approach in the program. Coach Brown certainly understands that West Virginia isn't starting over whatsoever, but simply tweaking things to make it his own.
Yeah, it's really just about changing the environment and putting environmental principles that are really important to us and how we build our program. That's what it is. You know, the word culture gets used so much, and we're not. They won 8 games last year. We're not necessarily rebuilding. You know, we may be rebranding. We may be doing things a different way. Doesn't mean the ways of old were wrong. It's just different, and we're putting our stamp on the program. And a lot of credit goes to our support staff, our players. They really bought in. They're trying to do what we ask them to do. But for us, it's about setting our environment, and our environment is just how we want to live. We want to have fun. We want to be a program that's built on positive energy. We want to have a family atmosphere, which to me is about relationships. We want to compete and be competitive in everything we do in all aspects. And last thing is we want to have continuous improvement. We want to challenge our guys and change their best every single day.
West Virginia is a young team with limited experience at a lot of positions. It's not a bad thing, it's simply the fact of the situation. And of course, the position battle that got the most attention in fall camp was the QB competition. Ultimately, Austin Kendall got the nod. Kendall comes in this year after Will Grier got drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft last year, and from an on-the-field perspective is relatively unknown simply because the sample size on Kendall is so small. AK was the backup to Kyler Murray at Oklahoma a year ago. Kendall completed his degree at Oklahoma last year, ultimately allowing him to become immediately eligible at West Virginia upon transferring. Kendall has 2 years of eligibility left, and there's no doubt that fans across college football are excited to see what the former 4-star recruit can do. We move to Lawrence, Kansas, where college football has its eyes on one Les Miles and the Kansas Jayhawks. It's no doubt one of the more intriguing storylines in all of college football. Miles, a national championship coach, takes over a Kansas program that has struggled to put wins on the board over the last decade. Miles returns to the Big 12 after a 4-year stint at Oklahoma State from 2001 to 2004, in which the Cowboys enjoyed 3 straight winning seasons after his first year, including 2 wins in 4 years over Bedlam rival Oklahoma. But it's a new Big 12 since Miles left Stillwater, and of course, the league will present new challenges the coach hasn't faced in a while.
Well, I think it's a great league. I think it's very competitive. I think there's a bunch of different styles of football that is being played, you know, throwing that ball down the field and yet playing some real strong defense in some spots. And I want to look forward to it. It's going to be a great challenge, but it's going to tell too, you know, how much better we can be, and because we're going to turn to the things that we can do, and we're going to do them repeatedly.
Senior running back Khalil Herbert is going to be primarily carrying the load this weekend against Indiana State. Herbert rushed for nearly 500 yards last season and added 5 touchdowns while averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Nagging injuries limited Khalil in 2017, and the emergence of Puka Williams limited Herbert's carries last season, but he's fully healthy and ready to roll, partially thanks to his approach this offseason.
It felt good this year, just coming back healthy. Things gonna help me this year. I've been trying to, watch the things I eat, stay getting treatment and stuff like that to keep myself healthy. So, but I think it's helped me all around. Just have more energy to go practice, have more energy to work out. I think it's been a good outcome so far.
The Jayhawks and Sycamores get going at 11 a.m. on FSN. I want to touch on one other team playing early on Saturday morning. Iowa State's got lofty expectations both internally and externally. The Cyclones were picked to finish 3rd in the Big 12 media poll back in July. It's the highest predicted finish for Iowa State in over a decade. ISU opens up with in-state opponent Northern Iowa on Saturday morning. Head coach Matt Campbell knows that the eyes are on his program now and that the Cyclones better come ready each and every weekend.
Well, I think it demands your best, and one of the nice things about our non-conference schedule, you play two huge in-state opponents right off the bat. We played Northern Iowa for game 1, and obviously a huge rival game 2, and you're going to get the best shot of both of those teams. And so I think it's very similar to what we're going to experience early, in our season, where we'll get everybody's best shot, and I think the fact that that's coming has really been something that you'll want to get to in your program when you're getting everybody's best every time you step out on the field. And it demands you to be your best every time you step out on the field. And I think we've worked really hard to understand that in our football program. And I'm really excited to see if we're at that point.
Finally, the matchup that everybody's looking forward to this weekend. Former West Virginia coach Dana Holgorsen is leading Houston into Norman to take on Oklahoma Sunday night in prime time. Jalen Hurts was, of course, one of the biggest stories in the offseason. He transfers to Oklahoma and was officially named the starter in recent weeks. Hurts comes to OU and will have plenty of weapons around him, including CeeDee Lamb. Lamb is one of the most electric players in all of college football, and he's excited as anybody to have the national championship winning quarterback throwing him the rock.
Me and Jalen, that's like a brother to me off the jump. Because we last remembered each other from the Dallas camp before he even went to college in Bama. So we kind of grew off each other when he got back, kind of like a family reunion. Just getting back with the old guys.
This will also be the Oklahoma debut for new defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, who looks to improve an Oklahoma defense from a year ago. Should be a fun challenge as that defense will have to contend with a quarterback that accounted for 50 touchdowns at Houston a year ago. Kick is at 6:30 p.m. Sunday on ABC. A look through the full schedule. Oklahoma State fans, will pick you up next week. I promise. Your game ended way after publication this time around. Iowa State, Kansas, and West Virginia all covered earlier. New head coach Matt Wells and Texas Tech will face Montana State. Baylor will host Stephen F. Austin, and Kansas State will host Nichols. Both of those games can be seen on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. Texas opens up against Louisiana Tech. Newly named starting quarterback Alex Delton and TCU will host UAPB, and the aforementioned OU Houston game taking place on Sunday night. So it's finally time to get things going. Enjoy all the Big 12 games this weekend, and I'll see you right back here next weekend for another episode of Big 12 Big Football.